welcome to our weekly, actually no, it's bi-weekly, bi-weekly conversation on all things family. Today, I want to talk about moving house. So some of you have approached me and asked me to do a little mini series on the process of moving house. Some of you might know that we are in that process at the minute, and I know many of us move house throughout our lives, and I think any change, right, comes with upheaval and feelings of worry maybe. And I think when you have a family that you're moving, that's even more so the case. And it's quite a common worry, I think, for parents, but certainly has been for me. So I'm doing a mini series, as I say, to break down the process of how we found our move and the steps we took. So today, the first session is all about the pre-work, if you like, to moving house and what we did to involve our kids and how that's worked for us so far. So the first thing we did, just looking at my notes there, the first thing we did was start to think about what area we want to move into, which is normal, right? We had the option of either moving up north to be closer to old friends, and also, you know, your money will go further in terms of buying houses and things. So that was a consideration. Or moving back to Berlin, where my family is based. Or the third option was staying in the south. And what we did to get more real on those three options was to actually go and spend some holidays in those areas, and not only holidays with family and friends, which is what we've done for many years, but actually do an Airbnb and stay in a flat or a house that would be the equivalent of what we might consider as a new home, or certainly temporary home, if we were going to rent first and then move into the forever home, obviously. So what we did was spend holidays just in our own four walls, renting an Airbnb, to really get a feel for what it might feel like to be here. So what would we do? What routines would we follow? Obviously, it's very similar to where we are now, but what does that look like in practice? And what markets are there? What activities are there for the kids? What would the commute to the school be like? So we made a short list of the potential schools in the area that we would be interested in, on paper at least. And I actually even I was able to go and see a couple of those schools, or at least have telephone conversations with them to find out a bit more about the head teacher and the ethos of the school, and get a feel for whether I think the kids might be happy in those schools. So at this point, the schools bit, certainly we didn't involve any of the children in any of those discussions, because I think there's that worry of involving them too early and then saying hairs running and getting them worried about, oh my gosh, when are we moving? How is this happening? So we didn't want to do that. This bit about checking in with other schools and was very much just my husband and I, just to get more intelligence from around the area, right? More information around what we like and what we don't like about a certain area. And we did that for the different areas that we were looking at. So as I say, the first thing was spending holidays in your own Airbnb in the area that you're interested in. And that was the bit, obviously, that the kids were involved in. And we pointed out, oh, wow, this market's great, or oh, look, they've got a holiday club here, let's check it out and see what it's like, and really trying to get into what life might feel and look like in that area. And we did that with the children, and sort of try to bring it to life like that, without sharing too many details about, oh yeah, this is where we might move. It was more a more involved holiday, if that makes sense. Second step was very much about spending some time online, my husband and I, researching the schools in the area, making some calls with different schools, and I even, as I say, looked at a couple of them when we went for our holiday. I went off and had a look at some of the schools in person, which was really, really helpful in understanding and what we were looking for in a school, and how they each stack up against each other. The other thing we actually did when we started to shortlist the areas that we're interested in is we did go and call some local estate agents and have a look at properties in the area. We took the kids with us on some of those, but actually in some of those they stayed with friends as well, and it was just my husband and I that actually looked at the property. And this was really helpful for us to understand what you can get for your money in the area, what the pitfalls are potentially of the buildings in that area. So in certain parts of the country, you might have very Victorian places, or in cities like Berlin, it's, you live in a flat. So having an actual look at a property that on paper looks like a really, really good fit for us to move into, and then going and doing some viewings was really, really helpful, again, in getting clear in our minds what it is that's important to us and what that area can offer us or not. And then the other bit that we did in terms of just again checking my notes of what I want to talk about today is the bit that I found tricky and that I've spoken to various other parents about is in how far you involve the children and how early do you involve the children. So as I said, we did some of that up front with the kids. We showed them some of the houses, but it was very much, well, oh, maybe one day, not we're going to move and this is what we're looking at. It was very much positioned as we're just finding information out at the minute. What do you like about this area? What do you not like about this area? And then we had discussions as a family around what is important to them. So, for my little one, it was very much a garden and the trampoline, and that was important to him. For my middle one, she really wanted to be able to continue gymnastics and be close to great clubs in that sense. For my oldest one, he really wanted to stay connected with the community that he was part of and the friends that he'd found. And I think the prospect of moving to areas where there would be different friends, but friends that he had known for many, many years, that was really comforting to him. Areas where he'd have to start from scratch, that was harder. So just having those really open conversations broadly around what is it that we're looking for in the move, and explaining as well, why are we moving? What's the driver? And in that driver for us, some of it is definitely schools, but we were really careful not to make that just about the schools, because I think as a child you can feel that real pressure of, oh my gosh, like my whole family has up sticks and moved house just for schools, and that's not what we wanted. That pressure is, I don't think, fair. And we've very much been clear about, yes, school is one driver, but we're also keen to just try something new as a family and move to a place where we can do that and yeah, have a new adventure together. And it's a new phase, and feels like our kids are coming out of that really small preschooler phase into the next one, which will be taking us into like the teenage phase and the preteen and tween and teenage phase. And that brings different needs in a home and a house and a community potentially. So we've based the conversation very much about the next phase as a family and what we want. And again, that balance of, maybe it's we want more holidays, maybe it's we want a bigger garden, maybe it's we want to be closer to a town centre, maybe it's we want to be closer to grandparents or friends, So we've had very, very open discussions about all of that as a family, and really tried to listen to everybody's points of view and what is important to them. And then I guess the trick is taking that into, okay, what does that mean in practice? What of those things, excuse me, can we combine, and which of those are going to be a compromise? And trying to be really honest and fair about that. But that takes me to the next iteration of this. So the next one on the next session on moving will be all about the more practical steps once we had decided on the area that we're going to go for and how we came to that decision and why. What were the more practical steps around tools that we used to combine school catchments with housing searches, and putting your own house then on the market and packing up and decluttering and all of those wonderful things. That's the sort of second phase that we're in at the moment. And then the final phase will be about settling into the new area, and that will be the topic of the third iteration of, or the third mini-series. The third session in this mini-series. Gee whiz, can't get the words out today. Anyway, I hope you found those initial thoughts helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. I have no doubt many people, many families move all over the place all the time. So let me know your thoughts and how you've dealt with that, because I think that's actually, as a closing remark, one of the things that I found as a child. I moved around quite a lot, and some of those moves were harder than others for me, and I definitely have that tainted view of how hard it will be for my children. But actually, so far, I've been really positively surprised that in many ways I think that is my baggage and my trauma, and doesn't have to be or become theirs, and to really try and stay in that neutral space of being open and honest, and taking them on the journey with us without overlaying my fears and my past experiences onto their current experience, if that makes sense, and trying to keep those two things very separate, so that their experience of moving house isn't tainted with my past experience, if that makes sense. Anyway, enough from me now. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below, reach out on Instagram, DM me if you have thoughts on this, and obviously in the Facebook group, if we can get a discussion going around this, I would be very excited to hear your views. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.